accountability, teamwork, integrity, determination, innovation. Like none of those have a male or a female. Well, you got to have a penis to have integrity. Or like you got to have boobs to have some sort of teamwork. And there's no male or
Mhm.
female. It's just your core values. Period. Welcome to the Spinoso podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Alex Spinoso, and my experience and expertise is in scaling all types of medical businesses to 7, 8, and 9 figures. And I'm sharing my journey with you. This isn't a podcast telling you you should do this. It's just telling you how I did this. And I hope that helps you build your business, take ownership of your life, and become a better leader at home and at work. We got a good one for you today, guys. We got a Miss Amanda May, which we're going to talk about some serious stuff today, right?
We are. The
Let's do it.
topic is battle of the sexes
Yep.
and business.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I like the outfit you're wearing today. We got a sweater, but your shoulders are out of the
This is the
sweater.
spicy side.
Okay.
Just a little spice right
But then your
here.
shoulders are cold all the fucking time. Like
It's a
that's the
nice
one thing.
breeze.
That's the one thing in bed. Like I tuck the blankets around my neck so vampires don't bite me. But at the same time, if my shoulder was out, I would be bothered. It would not like I would be freezing.
Yeah. So as it gets colder, I can't wear this. But right now we're like kind of cold, like
Yeah.
kind of cold in the morning, but like warm in the afternoon. So I've got the best of both worlds going on.
Got it. Got
Yeah.
it. And
At
guys,
least
if
my
you're
shoulders
if you're
won't get hot.
listening, imagine it's a full sweater, but then you just cut like the corners off, almost like you're cutting a sauce packet open. It's like just it's just her shoulders that are sticking out.
A saucy packet.
It's a saucy
I'm the
packet.
saucy
You're a
packet.
saucy packet. Yeah, there we go.
That's great. Well, today we're going to cover some of the misconceptions of men and women in business and discussing viewpoints on competition versus collaboration. And when it comes to men and women complementing each other in skills and perspectives in business. And so I think it's going to be a really great topic, and people are going to be able to get a lot out of it because there are valuable things that both men and women bring to the table. So let's dig into this battle of the sexes.
Yeah, I was at an event this weekend, speaking on stage, and actually, that's one of the things that the crowd brought up because it was for like men that were speaking on stage, and the crowd brought up, oh, we should get more women. Why don't we have more women? And some of the speakers said, well, like we'd like to have more women, and you guys can volunteer. And I pretty much just said it's because women have smaller brains than men. It's science. Like it's just how it is. So I think that's really what it boils down to, right?
Well, I mean, maybe we have smaller brains if that's even true, but we just are more effective in utilizing what we have. So
You
we just
actually
don't
use them. That
need
was pretty good. Yeah, that
as
was pretty good.
much.
You actually use your brain. The rest of us don't. It may be smaller, but you utilize it while men
Yeah.
use
Big
0% of their
brains
brains.
equal big egos.
For fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. All right. All right. Let's get into it. Let's get into it.
Uh, so when it comes to your structure within Genesis, or our structure, I should say, we as a team, but you and Brent, two guys, started this Genesis Lifestyle Medicine, which is comprised of mainly women. And so, how do you feel like that works in this business to have an attitude of collaboration over competition? And the important question, really, of approaching work relationships with more of a collaborative mindset.
Well, I think it's helped us a lot in scaling and in I would say emotional intelligence. And when I say emotional intelligence, I don't mean like touchy feely bullshit. Like we're all sitting in circles, and because women like to dance in circles and play on their what are they called, sound bathe and crap like that, and
Mhm.
do yoga. No, I mean that there's a very good. So Brent and I obviously are both man's men. He's a Southern boy from Tennessee, loves to go hunting and shit like that, and he's very calm, and I'm the opposite of being very calm. Um, but that being said, having a company filled with women has been phenomenal because I do believe that women, they think through things a lot more. sometimes they overthink while men underthink, and I think it's a good balance, putting both of those together because we're just kind of like, yeah, let's fucking do this, and some of the women, are, I don't think that'll actually work in the way that we're trying to do it. So it's good banter back and forth. It's good collaboration, and I think it also elevates the team in general, where you're going to have, as your business grows, you're going to have a ton of men and a ton of women in your business. That's just the business. If the business gets bigger and bigger, now you could argue all boys school or all girls school, and you're just surrounded by only men or only women. But actually, at my all boys school, we did have two teachers that were female as well. So it's not, again, it's the same thing where you have a large mix of one demographic and a smaller mix of the other. So we have a much smaller mix, I would say, of men than we do of women in the company. But as we've gotten bigger, it's really complemented the success of both sides. But again, we've collaborated that to make sure that they speak up and make sure that they're saying what they want to say and coming up with ideas and contributing to the overall growth of the company. And it's really like, in the end, it's not all the bullshit when it comes to, oh, equal opportunity and fuck, what's the government one for equal opportunity nowadays that all these companies are
Oh, yeah.
going up against?
Diversity,
No, it's not.
isn't it the
It's a specific word for DEI. Thank you. It's not fucking DEI and that type of bullshit where you're just hiring because you need like more boobies and or more black people or whatever in the company. It's
Mhm,
not about
mhm,
that. You're hiring really good people, and in our field, it's mostly women that are
mhm.
really good people. Guys a lot of times have issues with the aesthetics world or have issues with treating clients. And we do men's and women's sexual health. We do a lot of men's sexual health as well, a lot of men's hormone therapy. We treat a lot of men in our company, and the women are much better at communicating, much better at explaining things, much better at being able to help a client to get to their why and get to their goal much better than I believe that a lot of times men can be in that situation. So I
Mhm.
think it's a huge advantage to have having them on our team for sure, 100%.
Yeah. Jordan Peterson has a really good outline. He's got some like classes and stuff, and one of the programs was understanding how the roles that men tend to get into in career and the roles that women tend to get into, and women on a much higher level end up in support roles. And I think about that, like our company is really comprised of a lot of supporting someone's weight loss goals or sexual wellness goals. It's very like it's a very supportive environment that we have in our business. So it would make sense that a lot of women are drawn to that naturally. Like women are naturally great teachers because they're nurturing children a lot of the times. And so those types of roles, I think are super important, especially in the medical where you're having to really care about people.
Yeah.
Not that men don't care about people, but it's
To a lot
just
less
kind
degree.
of
I think it's a lot less empathy that they're born with or have for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you think is like a practical way for if what do you think is a practical way for there to be a shift from a competitive atmosphere to more of one that's genuinely collaborative? Let's say if someone is experiencing a little bit of kind of tension or just not feeling totally aligned from the male female perspective in their business.
I think one of the things is to get and the EOS model kind of taught us this, although we did it before, but not in a specific way. So before the EOS model, we would just have, Brent and I would just have meetings with the leaders, and the leaders, they were male and female, mostly female. So it was just individualized meetings with them. And we would just really talk about what problems that they had in the business, how can we fix it, how can we support it, and ideas that they had for the company. So that was just the beginning
Mm,
where we were doing that individually. And then EOS, when we rolled that out, entrepreneur organizational system, they essentially just said the same thing, but it should be more organized. So we just did that same exact thing afterwards as well, had those individualized meetings. I think one of the things is people sometimes feel strength in numbers. So part of EOS is having an executive meeting where you get the top people in your company and bring them in. And in for us, again, the top people were females because they're the clinic directors or they're the main providers in a lot of the clinics. So it was kind of, I don't want to say forced, but there wasn't really an option because those were the people who were there. Those are
Mm,
the leaders in our company. I would think that if you do something like that and it's all men, unless you're in a very male dominated, I would say, workplace like we are in a female dominated workplace, I think that's just how you have to have those meetings. Like there's nothing, you can't pick and choose different women or different guys just because you need, again, guys or women as bodies in the meetings. So for example, like our company, when we have our exec meetings, largely female, 80% female. My buddy's business, he owns a company that does a lot of car repair. He's got 12 different car shops, and he had all his executives in there, and they were all male because 98%, almost 99% of his team is male.
mhm,
So you have to just do it for what your business is. I wouldn't like force it.
mhm.
Um, because then you just get into trouble with hiring based off of, again, a sex or based off of nothing useful. It's more just like, oh, you're a body that I need in order to create diversity. You just hire really good fucking people, and that could be men and that could be women. Like either way, they have their strengths and weaknesses when it comes to specific jobs. um but with collaborative, I think when you do hire anyone, you have to be collaborative with everybody. You have to have an open door. You have to have people who are empowered to come up with ideas and contribute those ideas to the team and to the growth. And you have to reach down and ask, hey, what are some ideas that you might have? Or we're coming up with this problem. These are some solutions that I think we could do. What do you guys think since you're the ones down taking care of the clients at this time? What does that look like and how are we going to do that? So it's just how it is. This morning we had a meeting with a company doing an online app for us for rewards and stuff like that. And you were on that. And then Kara, where we're launching it, is in Nashville. She's the clinic director in and regional director in Nashville and in the Tennessee area. She was on the call because she's the leader. So it's collaboration with her, getting her ideas on how we should launch this program and test it out and everything like that.
Yeah, that's so good. And having been on a call and being on many different calls or meetings with the team, um, as from a female perspective, one of the things that I've really learned and stepped into is that I can be a leader, but not always be the one that's speaking or not always be the one that is on the forefront. Like, there were questions asked like on the call today. And while I may have had thoughts or ideas, it was like, just wait and see. And, like you and Brent are leading the charge. And so you would ask the questions that I was thinking. And so it's like, it's okay not to be the one always speaking up. And I think as a female, sometimes there's a desire, especially in higher levels of leadership, to prove something
Mm.
and recognizing that you don't have to prove something to show your value. Like sometimes it's just being quiet and being a supportive asset to whatever team you're on, like that is also strength. Like
Mhm.
being soft doesn't mean being weak or being nurturing does like and compassionate. You don't have to choose between the two, being strong or being compassionate, because being compassionate is also a strength. So recognizing that some of those differences between the way men and women approach things is also a strength. It's just not going to look like the same kind of strength that maybe you would see your male counterparts or teammates showing up in.
Yeah, I think that's a really important, and that's I think that's both females and males as well, where and females do it a lot better than males in that their women have better leadership skills because they let everybody kind of be heard and they listen to everybody. When I think a lot of male leadership is like, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to take the mountain, and some of you may die, but that's okay. Like, fuck off. Let's do this. And that kind of leadership, you need to have a part of it. So people need to know that, hey, you're going to fight, you're going to die for them. We're going to go somewhere, and they need somebody to rally behind and lead. If somebody, uh, for all better, lack of a better word, is a big fucking pussy, like, I don't know if I want to lead. I don't know if I want to follow that person, whether it's a guy or a girl. I don't know. She doesn't seem like a very strong leader. I'm not quite sure I really want to like, follow her. She maybe doesn't seem what she's doing, or like he seems kind of like a wimp. Like, if we get in trouble,
Mhm.
this guy is definitely going to jump ship and leave us here to die, sort of thing. So you have to have that strength side of things. But you're absolutely right, where more questions are a lot better. Asking questions of your staff, or asking questions and being empathetic and listening more will kind of open up things a lot more than, I think, just being really hard and just saying, "Hey, this is the decision. This is what we're gonna do." And I think there was a really good study done on people who really love their job, and even with Amazing Workplace that we did inside Genesis, there was a huge part of like autonomy. There was a lot of questions on autonomy and being able to do autonomy, or have autonomy in your business, where the study really was like people who really love their job felt like it was autonomous, like they had their own decision making capabilities or abilities to do things that were obviously within reason, that the company kind of said, yeah, yeah, you go ahead, you guys do that, you guys make your own decisions, and we'll support you. So there was autonomy there. And even in Amazing Workplace, people said, oh, they don't really like come down and micromanage me or tell me how to do my job. I just like, you just get it done.
Mm.
And I think that's a big important part of having that play, from a male side as a leader, is that you just got to let people get shit done. You have the beginning and the training, and then you have the end result. And in the middle, like all the gushy center part, the people can do whatever the fuck they want, like, to a degree, obviously. But if they do something and it gets to the end result every single time, then great. It's what we're doing is not assembly line stuff. Like, it's
Mhm.
not assembling an engine on an assembly line, or a car on an assembly line. So you're like, well, that one you kind of have to do exactly what the fuck you're supposed to do for your job, like, and
Mhm.
no, do not deviate. Don't put the bolt over here or over here, because that is definitely not going to work in the end.
Yeah.
But for what we're doing, the middle, the meaty part, you can kind of do it however you want. We have guidelines, and as long as you're being successful and getting the end result more often than not, then cool. You're good. We're not going to come bother you. But if you're not getting that end result, and it's because you're doing something stupid in the middle, then we're going to come and say, okay, look, we need to fix this, this, and this in the middle part. But as a leader, I think that's really important, in that you have the end result, your KPIs, you have the beginning in your training, and then you just let people do whatever the fuck they need to do to get that job done in the middle.
Yeah. That allows them to tap into their strengths,
Right.
male and female.
Yep.
And it just kind of reminds me of, the differences between men and women in general, and how women really look to a male figure for leadership, like what you were referring to. Like, women want to feel protected, they want to feel safe, they want to feel secure. And I actually heard a study that like 90% of women feel um like unsafe on a daily basis. And and I could be, don't come at me for the exact number. It's something like that. But it has to do with how often are we looking around when we're getting in our car, or like when we're going into a store, are we watching to see if somebody's following us? There's just this safety factor that we're always a little bit more heightened about. Um, so when you are, and then I think you had kids in the mix and you're out with your kids, and that's even probably higher. But so when you're talking about, the somebody that's a strong leader that people want to follow, safety is an important factor. And we went over that even in Amazing Workplace. Like, how safe do you feel in your job to bring up issues, have
Hmm.
tough conversations, make decisions, things like that. And that we ranked very, very high for as a company. But that kind of brings me back to a story that involves you, actually. And I don't know if I've ever shared this with you,
Mm.
but
All right,
Um
here we go. Sexual here comes the sexual harassment lawsuit.
It's like when your kid is like, "You know what my mom did?" You're
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Right, in a
what's
public place.
about to
Yeah,
happen?"
yeah, yeah.
But no, in this situation, and this was I was also speaking last weekend. This was a story I shared in front of the group. And it was about when you and I were, well, our team, but you and I were going back and forth with one of our agencies, the marketing agency, and I had asked for some information from them, very basic data that I wanted to take a look at in regards to our email marketing. And it was like 10 days before they ever got back to me. And I'd sent some follow-up emails, and they finally got back to me, got me what I needed. And after they sent me what I needed, you stepped in and said, "Hey, this is ridiculous that it's taken you 10 days."
Mhm,
Like, if she's asking you for something, it's just like if I'm asking you for something, you know, this is very simple information. It should not have taken this long. So on one side, it was like I could step back and I knew you had my back.
mhm,
And it was like that made me feel safe to be able to go out and ask for information or ask for data or whatever it is I needed to do my job. And I knew you were there watching to make sure that I was being treated right and that things were actually, being sent back if I was asking or requesting information. And so that was a story I shared, and the importance of female having that in a work environment, and how that actually creates a lot of like completion in the picture,
mhm.
and not competition. And that was something that I shared with the business owners that I was talking to. Like, if you are a man in leadership and you have women under you, watch and protect them and allow those times for them to see that you've got their back, because that adds a level of, I'm going to say, confidence for the
No.
woman.
No, you're right. As a leader, you have to, and as a male leader, you have to realize that you have to protect your staff, male and female, you have to protect your staff. And if every once in a while, you're going to have to fucking unsheath your sword and chop some fucking heads off, because people nowadays just a lot of times will just do whatever the fuck they want. Vendors will act however they want. They will say, "Well, I don't I could do this whenever I want and I could respond whenever I want." And that's part of that, where as a leader you have to protect your team. And if you have executives in your team that are female and they ask for shit and they're getting the runaround because it's not you, you need to fucking climb down those people's throats and tell them 100% like, this is how it's going to be. This is
Yeah.
exactly what you need to do. And if you don't, I swear to fucking God, I will end you.
Mm.
Like, it's as simple as that, period. Like, I'll
Yeah.
just go somewhere else. There's a million other people. Or the way I do it is usually just build that fucking business and make sure that they go out of business in direct competition. Like,
Mm.
okay, you guys want to fuck with us? We'll go head to head. I'll see you guys on the other side, 100%.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as a leader, you have to do that. You have to protect your team, 100%.
Yeah, and I think that kind of brings to another important topic, which is communication and assessing the different styles of communication in either fair or unfair kind of ways, just because somebody communicates differently from and we're talking specifically battle of the sexes, so male versus female, the way women communicate versus the way men communicate. And how do you feel like people can avoid the pitfalls of maybe clashing with the approach on leadership?
Well, so I've gone through this and evolved through this over the last 5 years pretty significantly, almost 6 years now, pretty significantly. In that at the beginning, it was talking one way. I grew up in an Italian Puerto Rican home. Both my sister and I take direction the same way. Um, More of, and I remember, growing up playing soccer, and if I didn't play to the level that my parents knew I could play, it was why the fuck are you wasting our time here? Like, what the fuck's wrong with you? We'll go home. Like, I don't give a shit. I'm not gonna waste my time watching you half-ass things. It was the same with school. School was our job. Like, we weren't going to half-ass school. We weren't going to half-ass anything. If we said we were going to do something, we were going to finish it. There was none of this like, well, we could quit halfway through the season type shit. It was, you made a commitment, you fucking finish it. All those types of things growing up. So as I have gotten into business, at the beginning, it was the same thing with my staff, where it's like, this is just how it's going to be. This is how we're going to fucking do it, period. And it was very harsh. And it, I think, made a lot of people afraid of the responses that I would have to things and stuff, because they would have these sometimes what I felt like complaining responses or complaining issues. And it's just like, well, what the fuck's wrong with you? Like, that's a stupid fucking thing to complain about. Why are you like, okay, fix it this way and this way and this way? And it wasn't very open or empathetic or a very good way of communicating whatsoever. And that has gotten much, much better over time, especially learning from Brent, my business partner, and he's the exact opposite. He's very chill, very relaxed, doesn't talk back, doesn't argue or anything like that. And he's completely, completely opposite of me for that. And as we've hung around with each other, we've both kind of gone towards the middle, I guess. He's become more biting, and I've become a lot more lenient. But it's a really good yin and yang, and it was a really good yin and yang, being a good cop, bad cop type of thing. And I don't recommend doing that in your business. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying at the beginning it was big, so I didn't blow out everybody, because if it was just that type of leadership, I know those types of leaders, and I've seen those types of leaders, and there's people that I know. I won't even call them acquaintances or friends, because I don't associate with that type of bullshit, where they have smaller businesses now than they did 5 years ago because of that type of leadership. Just continued and continued and continued, and you burn people out, and people leave, and they don't want to fucking stay. And so I think it was really important to have Brent. I think that's a huge part of developing. But again, if you're gonna have females in your business, and you're gonna have a group of, especially in our field, a large group of females, you cannot be a 100% of the time take the boats, slaughter the children, leave them bleeding in the gutters type of person all the time. You can't. There's going to be times when you're going to do that, and women get fired up about that shit too. But you cannot always be like that, because you're going to burn your staff out. You're going to burn your females out. The guys that you're going to cultivate are going to be the guys that are the same as you, and they're not going to be able to have any empathy or any type of good communications with their female colleagues or even their clients and things like that. So recognizing those differences was huge, and having those heightened communication skills, where it's more like, okay, let's listen to everything that they have to say. Let's listen to always both sides of the story. Let's realize that you don't always need your problems fixed. A lot of times, clients just need, or staff, and even your wives just need to be fucking complainy for a little bit and just be heard. Really is the biggest thing, is shut the fuck up and let them make their peace. And that's been male and females, not just females. That's males as well in your company, that you just have to shut up and let them make their peace, and let them be heard, and make them feel like they're heard. And it completely changes the way people interact with you.
Mm.
And you're really good at that, because we literally put you in that position. Because Brent and I were, we did it for a long time, and we're like, well, how can we need a female to sit in this position for like HR, and you sat in that HR position being the female for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, I don't mind. Those things I don't mind. I do tend to have more of a bend toward fixing things though. I think that is maybe more of a masculine trait, or what would be considered a masculine trait. I'm not one to listen and then just be like, oh, okay, let's, next. I'm like, okay, how do we fix it? And, what do we need to figure out with your beliefs that would change that viewpoint, or, you know, things like that. So I do tend to be a little bit more of a fixer than just a listening ear.
Mhm.
Which I guess could be good in an HR role, because you don't want to just leave things undone if they do actually need to be fixed. So yeah, yeah, that was a fun season, and now we have Sean, and he's great at it, and he he takes on that role really well. But he's got a good presence to actually sit and listen to
Yeah.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's trained in it and has done it
Yeah.
for a very, very long time, so he's used to it, and he can, listen to people without being like, "What? Shut the fuck up. What's
Yeah.
wrong with you?"
Yeah. I still think, I think the time that I was sitting in that position too, I think that is an interesting topic and one slightly separate from this conversation, but, um, coming from the inside of the company, I think made a little bit of a difference with how open people felt like they could be with me
Mm,
because they saw me grow from kind of partnership, Amanda May Beauty and Genesis to being a provider to, so I was actually a peer with them at one point and then moving into more of a leadership role. It changes the dynamics a little bit because it's like they have to mentally shift. Okay, you're not necessarily in the clinic with me as a peer. Now you're a leadership person I can go to maybe to get solutions. And so it's an interesting shift when you're moving people up the ranks. And it's been, I guess, the path that I've been on where I've been in the clinics working with some of these providers side by side, then moving into a leadership position. I feel like that has to be done gently.
do you think they were more open or less open because of that?
I think it depends on the clinic and it depends on the location. I think in like our Vegas locations, I think they were less open.
Mm,
And then I think in the Dallas clinics, because I was in there with them, there was more friendship there. So then they were more open.
mm.
So I think it just depends on where it was coming from and my position at the time from when I was in certain places.
So you recommend hiring like we did, out from outside the
I
company for that
think
position, for that HR
I think that was a
position?
good yeah, I think that was a good move.
Hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, so from a business owner standpoint, it's good to elevate people from within as well for the reason I think to a degree that you said is that all the petty stuff that they normally would bring up to HR, if they have somebody internally that like built up and is their leader and stuff and has been through the shit before they were here or anything like that, I think it's really great to have that because most of the time they'll just shut the fuck up because it's some stupid petty complaint or
Mhm.
something that normally they would complain about in like a corporate setting or something like that. But they realize, oh, if I bring this up, like the leader's gonna kind of laugh at me, and not to a degree
Oh,
that you're creating a culture that you can't bring shit up. It's just some shit is just really petty. As a business owner, some people bring shit up sometimes, and you're like, that's fucking petty. And I think that happens to a lesser degree than what would happen if, with maybe Sean, you're coming from an outside point of view and coming in and he doesn't know and he's very
mm,
corporate at the beginning, until he learns how we are and what our culture is and how we keep it that way. Where it's just like, well, we got to listen to both sides of the story and figure it out. It's like, no, that's a petty ass fucking thing right there.
I
Shut the
can
fuck
see
up, like
that.
sort of thing. Because the leaders they'll go through that. They've been through that and they're like, that's stupid. Why are you complaining about that? Shut up, literally. And I think there has to be a degree to that. It's
Yeah.
not coming from the leadership. It's coming from your own culture, your own management, your own accountability, pointing fingers at people and saying like, "Well, this is this or this is that," or miscommunicating. It's like you can fix your shit. You can fix your own shit most of the time. We're adults.
Yeah.
Nobody comes to work again, and I've said this 1,000 times. Nobody comes to work to try and fuck it up. They're not trying to. So it's a miscommunication or issue that you guys need to fix most of the time. And I think having that elevation in your company where, yeah, there's a next level and you can contribute and all that is there, like that culture we've built up to where if they do, you have the new people that might bring up stupid things. It's like, the rest of the team's gonna be like, that's stupid. Like, or we tried that, or nah, I wouldn't bring that up because that's literally the dumbest thing ever, sort of
Yeah.
thing. You have your own culture policing themselves
I
at
can
that
see
point.
that too because there are things that in the transition, like I knew the day-to-day operations in the clinics.
Hmm.
So when they were describing something maybe that was triggering for them or that they were complaining about something, um, I knew what they were talking about. because I had been in that
Yeah.
position. So, I knew if time to take notes or chart on patients or whatever was an issue, like, I knew what that looked like from a day-to-day operation standpoint. So I can
Right.
definitely see that too.
Yeah.
Um, this is so good. I love this conversation. Okay. So when it comes to really setting examples and accommodating the different styles in the workplace without compromising the excellence of our actual team and structure and culture, how do you accommodate the different ways that, let's say, men and women would approach things? Again, going back to battle of the sexes, if we're talking from that approach specifically, how do you accommodate the differences in how maybe men and women approach things, but we still want to keep that culture very, very accurate to what the Genesis way is?
Well, I think it starts with your core values. It starts with our core values. If you're speaking about your core values, there's really no male or female way to talk about your core values. Your
Mm,
core values are just your core values. And ours were at the beginning created by Brent and I, but then redone by the staff, which was made up of at that time again like 75% females. I think that first meeting where we actually did the core values or redid them. So again, it was made by males and females. And when you talk about core values like uh, accountability, teamwork, integrity, determination, innovation, like none of those have a male or a female, well, you got to have a penis to have integrity. Or like you got to have boobs to have some sort of teamwork. And there's no male or
mm,
female. It's just your core values, period. And if you talk about your core values, there is no way of communicating your core values that would be different for men or for females. There really isn't. And when it comes to a business and growing a business, you're gonna want to do your normal teamwork talks, your normal growth talks, your normal innovation talks, and accountability, because the core values not only describe them, but they describe your business. They describe where your business is going to go. Period. So unless you're a business that really only caters to men, because there might be some out there, or a business that really only caters to women, and that's what you want your brand to say and be, and that's going to be in your core values, then that's the way you talk. If you have a brand that has both, excuse me, if you have a brand that has both male and female staff members, serves both male and female clients, then your core values are just your core values. There's no way of speaking about them differently. And
mm, mm,
we haven't really spoken about our core values differently, I don't think, in any of our events, to be like, well, for you women, this is what you should do, and for you men, this is what you should do based off that core value. So just talking about that. When it comes to accommodating, I think accommodating is a really stupid fucking word, because I think that's like, well, you gotta make sure that everybody is taken care of, and everybody, and to a degree, I think that's important. But in my word, accommodations means like you're bending over backwards for fucking
mm,
every single little person that comes in. You have a culture. We have a base culture. Whether you're a man or a woman that comes in, if you're against that culture or don't fit that culture, or the way we communicate, or our openness, or the fact that we are not a, well, pointing the finger type culture where it's like, well, it was her fault or it was his fault. We're not that type of culture. If you're going to do that in our business, men or women, you're going to get fucking terminated.
mm.
And we terminate equally here, equal opportunity terminations. Both men and women get fucking terminated for the same dumb shit that they do when they come on board. Like if they're not living the core values,
Mhm.
I don't care what you have. I do not care. You got an innie or an outie. I don't give a shit. You're getting fired for not doing the core values. Period.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. Now, some other companies, and we haven't gotten to that point yet, um, have they take the Myers Briggs, or they take a different um, personality test, so they can say, well, this person communicates in this way, and this is how you should communicate with them, and this person communicates in this way, and the people have different colored badges, so you know how to communicate with them, which to a degree might be good. We've never done it. But I also, to a degree, think it's fucking stupid because if you have a common goal, it doesn't matter how you're communicate like, and you communicate somebody like verbally, and then write it down, and then you have your meetings weekly about what are the things you need to get done. That should cover all the different types of communication that are needed for that's a man and a male at the same time, a male and a man or a woman to do their fucking job. Like,
Mhm.
there's no difference when it comes to that. I think it's just open communication and making sure that you guys are, again, teamwork is one of our core values, making sure that you guys are on the same page in the clinic, you're communicating with each other, you're making sure that you're getting done what you need to get done. Um, so I don't think there's an accommodation that needs to be done in the workplace or whatever. This isn't, NASA in the early 1900s where you're or I guess late 1900s where you got your segregated bathrooms for men and women. It's just not how it works.
Yeah. Well, a couple things that comes to mind is when it comes to building relationships in the clinic. I feel like, and this is an assumption, but the men on the team are more results. Like, what's the result? What did the patient, let's get the data, get the result, and start there. Where women are very um relational. So when the client comes in, it's like, how was your week? How are you feeling? What do you, do you feel sexy? Do you feel better in your clothes? Like women are gonna ask those questions and build that relationship naturally. And then men are gonna be like, okay, well, what was the data? What was the result of, your week or your month? And I think that balance is really great for our clients because they do get both. And going back to the topic of how to communicate with somebody, I think it's less about I have to wear a badge and this is how you need to communicate with me, and more recognizing that there are different communication styles and knowing what they are. Because if, like on our call this morning, he was asking the company was asking you guys questions about how do you want to handle this thing? And it's like, well, we don't really know how we want to handle that thing until we see the data. So from like a disc profile
Hmm.
standpoint, that's going to be really data driven. So if he was like, yeah, but the people think this and this and this. Well, you're skipping over the fact that what we're asking for is data. So what did he, because he knows how to communicate, this company we were talking to. He's Jeremy, right? I think his name
Hmm.
was. So
Right.
he said, okay, I'll make sure I have all the data
Right.
that you guys want for the next call. Where if he had jumped over that because maybe he's more of a people person,
Hmm.
then there's gonna be miscommunication.
Yep.
But he was able to recognize, okay, you guys are more on the D side of the disc profile.
Yeah.
So let me get all of that together before our next phone call. And I think it's just making sure you're aware that there are different communication styles and being open to recognizing what you are hearing people say that's being present in the conversation and truly connected so that you can kind of flow a little bit easier. Like, maybe I'm not a data person, but if somebody's asking for data, I can get it for them. And so just fostering a culture of growth and understanding within our organization is a big factor, not necessarily male female driven, but just as a good foundation for building a really solid, happy, amazing workplace, which is what we've done really well based off our amazing workplace status
Right.
and
Right.
awards.
Shameless plug for
Um,
them.
Yes, yeah. So I guess that takes me to the shift a little bit and reframing this from battle of the sexes to partnership of the sexes, because that's really what we're doing here is creating partnership environment within our organization, which is much more collaborative than battle. Although the competition's kind of fun when we talk about battling each other.
Yeah.
That's just a fun aspect of
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah. You're definitely gonna lose, but that's okay
Because my brain is smaller.
because you have tiny brains. It's okay. Tiny brains, big boobs.
So
Mason over
so
there is laughing.
There's something good there.
There you go. You got
Okay.
something to contribute to this partnership.
Which we're gonna talk about in upcoming podcasts.
Boobs?
Actually, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, there's
I'm
was
excited.
looking over the notes, and Vaughn specifically said T&A. So we're gonna I
There you
mean, he
go.
actually typed it out.
He typed
I'm just
Oh,
saying
you're
T&A.
abbreviating it.
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
it. I like that.
yeah, for the sake of class, but
No, but so the let's I want to take a quick step back and tell everybody, and as leaders, there is in all of this, you can be empathetic, you can communicate well, you can make sure that all of your staff is heard. And at the end of the day, though, you have the fucking decision to make. And you have to know that when you make that decision, your team's going to be on board with it. So if you are making decisions and your team is bucking everything that you're doing and you have a history of making good decisions, then sometimes you just need to fucking let people go. And there are going to be some of those employees, men and women, who say, well, I don't know. I don't agree with this. I don't agree with that. And guess what? Those people have zero fucking reason to be in your business.
Mhm.
And Brett and I have dealt with this before where we've had people say, oh, I don't agree with what he's doing here. I don't agree with this. I don't agree with these certain execs in positions and shit like that. And again, it's you have to really protect your culture. And if they have no feet to stand on and you've built this giant business and hey, this is how it's going to be. Go the fuck somewhere else if you're going to create that type of bullshit in my business. And you have to be that. And sometimes you got to be ruthless. And sometimes you have to do a fucking public execution in front of everybody and say, this is inappropriate. This is not what we do here. If you're going to be like this, you don't belong here at all. I do not care. And as a leader, you have to do that because you have to have boundaries. We have fun, we have great core values, you have a lot of autonomy to do what you're going to do, but if you're going to break certain rules or you're going to undermine the leaders and where we're trying to go, you are definitely going to be put through the guillotine. I'm sorry. That's just how it is. And everybody's going to see you put through the guillotine. And you can complain all you want, but we'll tell everybody what the fucking real story is so that they all know that that's not okay at all. And you have to have that line in the sand at the end of the day. It doesn't matter at that point whether they're a male or a female. If they're undermining your company, if they're undermining you as a leader and they have zero justification for it, goodbye. Have a nice fucking day. And they're out of the company, period. Now, if you have a long history of being a shitbox and you've never won anything in terms of a business and you're not growing and you're not making any money and you're not paying your staff and they complain, well, look around yourself and take some accountability. That's part of the core values. But there's nobody in our business, again, that can say they have made less money year after year after year than the year before if they have pushed themselves, if they have grown personally, if they have, tried. If you haven't tried, yeah, you'll probably make a little bit less money than the year before, even with your raise, because you're just fucking lazy or you're falling off the wagon or you're having a tough time for a short bit. But otherwise, you provide a ton of opportunity like we do. You provide a ton of value, a ton of good culture, and they go against that. That's when you have to be ruthless, men or women. You don't have to beat around the bush and say it in a certain way because a man is going to take it better than a woman is going to take it or vice versa or whatever. No, get the fuck out. I don't care who you are. You're done here. Now let's talk about collaboration.
That's good. So if somebody's listening and they're, feeling like they want to have more collaboration, more of a partnership feel in their business, is there one like tip that you can give them that they can take away and implement right away to build that within their organizations?
I would say absolutely go read Traction by Gino Wickman. It's a book about EOS, or just learn about EOS on Google or YouTube and start to have executive or leadership meetings where you bring your executives, you bring your leaders into your company and start to talk more in a collaborative form, an open forum. Hey, I need ideas for this, or I need ideas for this. Maybe help them, maybe bring them in on problems that you need to solve or ideas that you've had and see what their feedback is. And again, you're the business owner, you have the final say. At the end of the day, they work for you, and you are responsible to make sure that the business stays afloat and grows so that they can grow. Sometimes they're not going to see that, but in the end, as long as you are forcing the business to grow and working towards that, then I think that's important. But I think that's a huge thing is you do create those opportunities for people to get in a group, get on a Zoom, get anywhere where they're having where you can have a meeting and have and foster that collaboration between the sexes.
That's so good, and that kinda brings me into talking about your, mastermind. Collaboration, I think, is a huge factor in why the mentorship process is so extremely valuable. I have had some incredible mentors through the years, and, it has fostered a win-win environment as well as learning how to collaborate more effectively. So if somebody wants to sign up or join your mastermind, how are they gonna do that?
Yeah, they can go to joincharismetics.com. So that's charismedx, charismetics.com. And it's yeah, we're not taking people based off whether they're male or female into the group. It's just any business owner and any people who want to get together and collaborate and grow their businesses with us. I mean, we've done it. We've grown multiple businesses. We've grown multiple states, multiple different rules, gone through essentially everything that you could go through in the medical field. So that's why we decided, hey, we're going to build this thing and kind of help out other people. We don't have to do it. It's kind of like a side passion project. It definitely is not going to make us more money than what we're making in our real jobs. But it's something that will help kind of everybody, and that's what we
Mhm.
want to do.
So it's predominantly for medical industry
Yeah, so it's
leaders?
people who run medical companies, cash pay companies is really what our expertise is. So anything in that realm, really med spas, hormone therapy centers, aesthetic centers, sexual health centers, all those types of clinics is what we're looking for.
Awesome. So what is there any criteria for somebody that is interested? Like they would say, "Okay, this is definitely the group I need to join."
They just want to learn and they're not assholes. That's about it. That's like the 2 fucking criteria.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
It
know
sounds
Vaughn
easy.
Vaughn would have more, but, like, no, that's it. If you wanna learn and you're not an asshole, I wanna hang out with you and work together and grow your business together with us.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
then the other cool thing is if, let's say, somebody isn't ready for a mastermind just yet, or there are just some specific topics that they want to learn about, you have a ton of free resources on the website. And people can find that at dralexspinoso.com. And it's just under the resource page. Is that where they would
Yep.
find the information?
Yeah, yeah. Under I think it's under courses.
Courses.
There's tons of free videos there, and if you guys are wondering about what vendors or what companies we use to run Genesis, if you look under vendors, they're all there, or what businesses that I run, you look under businesses, they're all there. I put it all out there for you guys to utilize those teams.
Awesome. And from a female perspective
Mhm.
on this, my final note I would say to the women that are listening is it's actually a strength to ask for help. So don't think because you're a strong female leader that you can't ask for support or can't ask for help. When you are surrounded by healthy, strong, focused men, utilize them. It is actually a woman's superpower when she can come alongside, get the help and support she needs, and then feel confident in moving forward in her leadership. So utilize the men around you because there are probably some really good ones. And if you don't have any good ones and you need some good ones, then tap into Dr. Alex and what Dr. Alex and Vaughn are doing together because you'll get a lot of value out of that.
Awesome. Well, I got nothing to add to that. Thanks for listening, guys. If it helps you and gals, well, battle of the sexes there. Sorry, I almost slipped up. If it if it helped you, share it with somebody, and thank you for listening.